Authentic humility is highly honored in the Christian community. And why not? Jesus models it and he nurtures it in his disciples. Both the Old and New Testaments are filled with humble people. And one of those is the story of Naaman, Elisha, and an unnamed servant girl. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Syria, was a great man and successful in battle. We read about him in 1 Kings chapter 5. But he also lived with a very serious skin disease. On one raid, the Assyrians had carried off a little girl from Israel. And in Syria, she worked in the service of Naaman's wife. One day, she said to her mistress, "If only my master could meet the prophet of Samaria, he would be healed of his skin disease." Naaman took her seriously and told the king what the girl had said. "Well then, go," said the king, "and I'll send a letter of introduction to the king of Israel." The letter read this way: "I've personally sent my servant Naaman to you. Heal him of his skin disease." The king of Israel read the letter and was so upset he ripped his robe. He said, "Am I a God with power to bring death or life, that I would get word to heal this man from his disease?" Elisha, the man of God, heard what happened, and he sent word. "Send him to me," he said, "so he will learn that there's a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came to Elisha's house with his horses and his chariots. But instead of going out, Elisha sent out a messenger with a message. "Go to the Jordan River and wash 7 times. Your skin will be healed and you'll be clean." Naaman was angry and he said, "I thought he'd personally come out and meet me and call upon the name of the Lord his God, that he would make a big show. Our rivers in Damascus are clearer than the rivers in Israel. Couldn't I wash in them instead and be clean?" And he stomped off in a rage. But his servants caught up with him. They said, "If the prophet had asked you to do something hard, wouldn't you have done it? So why not this simple instruction? Wash and be clean." So Naaman went down and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan, and his skin was healed. It was like the skin of a little baby. Let's consider Naaman, Elisha, and the servant girl of this story. Naaman was an important person who expected to be honored. He stomped off in a rage and was too proud to follow the prophet's direction. And that's what pride does. It causes us to feel that we're better than others, and it's a sinful behavior. Pride gets no pleasure in having something, only in having more or being smarter or better looking than another person. It compares itself to others, and then it has this feeling, I'm better than. And that brings us to our key spiritual insight. The living God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. By contrast, we see the humility of Elisha, the man of God. When called to the ministry, he left everything behind. We read about this in 1 Kings 19. And he became an assistant to the prophet Elijah. Then, when Naaman offered silver and gold for his instruction and advice, Elisha took none. Now, so that there are no misunderstandings, humility is not being a person with a weak personality and no confidence. It is instead a heart attitude of appropriate lowliness. It starts by having a true opinion of ourselves before God. And then, this accurate understanding leads us to walk humbly with our God. There's another important character in this story, the servant girl. She was taken into captivity and living in a very undesirable situation. She could have been angry and bitter and selfish, but instead she lived peacefully and gently with others. Her humble service was to simply give good news. Of course, our leading example of humility comes back to Jesus. He came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom. Having authentic humility like Jesus is an insight for our everyday living. Don't be obsessed with getting your own advantage. Humility makes a huge difference in the world, and it brings you God's favor. Listen to Philippians chapter 2. It says this, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourselves. Each of you should look not only to your own interests, but also to the interests of others. Your attitude should be the same as that of Christ Jesus." And those, my friends, are words of hope.